Hi guys, we're back in the shop. I want to show you this build we're doing with an L83 8-speed, because I think the L83 is an awesome engine, and it's probably the engine you need, even if it's not the engine you want. We got a two-door here with pretty much every option you could imagine. We have got a roof rack and racks on top of that. This was a Pentastar JK, and it did have a supercharger on it. We got S-pods, we had air compressors inside here. Check this out. We've got dual batteries, but we've got batteries behind the seat. We've got refrigerators, I do believe cooking utensils, onboard storage tanks, a lot of stuff in this JK. Roll bar. Notice my guys have the steering wheel secured during the swap. Remember to do that. Let's walk over and take a look at the engine. And by the way, when we pull these superchargers out, you can see we're pulling out a air-to-air heat exchanger or intercooler. And that really cleans things up. You know, when we get rid of all this piping and plumbing and pulleys, the LT3 is actually going to look simple compared to what he's got. So here's another LT4 build. So here's the L83 engine, and this is a new engine, as you can tell, and they are quite a bargain. Look at this engine. It's all aluminum, high compression, direct injected, continuous variable valve timing. It's got active fuel management. It's just an awesome engine for the money, and I don't see this much technology in anything else that's out there for the price. We are running our easy mounts, as you can tell. There's no fabrication installing this engine. Basically, you just drop this onto some hydraulic mounts that we offer. This is a oil level unit, and yes, you can run it if you choose to. You don't have to. This is our crankshaft position sensor that you do have to run. We are missing the knock sensor. We're going to have to install one of those. This is a new engine, so a couple interesting things. The LTs did go to an 8-bolt flywheel, so remember that. You can't interchange the old 4 and 6 speeds with the later model LT crankshafts. Over on this side, you'll notice we are running a Delco oil filter. I suggest you do that, or at least a premium filter. Easy mount, sub harness. This is where our vacuum pump goes. Now we can run the vacuum pump or not. On this particular engine, there is no port on the intake for vacuum like there is on the LT1, because it's designed to have a vacuum pump. So we're going to add a vacuum pump to this engine. On the LT1s, they do have a port that you can run intake vacuum from. This is our purge valve, our map sensor, all the stuff that we've gone over many a time. Now, what makes this engine combination so awesome isn't just the technology in this engine, it's this transmission also. A lot of guys ask me about the vent. Here's your vent right here for the 8090 transmission. Now we do tee that in with the transfer case and then run that all the way up to the top of the dipstick tube. In fact, you can see that right here. This happens to be an Atlas, but you can see that we're teed in right here. Here's our transmission vent. We run it pretty high up, and we do run the little cap on the top, and that's pretty important to keep dust and contamination out. So back to the L83, and you can always tell in the GM what the displacement of the engine is because they cast it right into the block, both in the rear and in the front. So if this was an L86 or some other displacement engine, it would be cast right into the block, and there's no confusion there. So I'm doing this video because this L83 is just an awesome engine, and at the price point, I don't think there's much out there to match it. This engine will perform similar to a Gen 4 6.0 L96 and maybe outperform it. It is somewhere between the 6.0 and the 6.2 in my opinion. Most of you know that the LS 5.3 isn't ideal in a really heavy JK, especially if you're running at high altitude or towing. This engine's not going to mind. This engine has so much bottom end torque, it's going to be able to haul your heavy JK up those mountain grades, hold 80 miles an hour, and it's not going to complain about it. And again, a big part of that's going to be this 8090 transmission. Now here's a heat shield on this transmission. Try to run it. The 6L80 has the same thing. I talk a lot about the adapter, and I'm sorry guys, but we're outside of Nellis, and they're having war games. So this is a 4-wheel drive 8090 transmission. This is a wet adapter. What that means is this adapter has transmission fluid that's going to come out if you take it off. This is not a dry adapter like the 6L80. There's an O-ring in here sealing this adapter to the transmission. So if you've got a 2-wheel drive with an extension housing, you're going to have to replace not only this, but this rear output shaft. And it's not too hard to do. It's just a couple $100 of parts. This is our connector down here for the 8L90. They got it tucked away and they got it protected from heat. So make sure you run that. We do run a full-size, heavy-duty, four-wheel drive GM transmission mount. We don't run rubber biscuits or polyurethane or single stud. This is a full dual stud heavy-duty mount. These are our spacers, and you can adjust those to control the height of your transmission. Sometimes we have to lower these down, especially in two doors if we have an issue with driveline angle. Stepping over here, this is our trans cooler outlet, and the 8L90 did go to a new style transmission cooler line, so make sure you get one for an 8L90, not for a 6L80. This is a standard old shift lever, which is really good to see because a lot of the new transmissions are eliminating that and going to full electronic shift. In fact, in some of these newer vehicles, you have to actually pull a release cable to get it out of park so that you can tow the vehicle if the battery goes dead. So I'm glad that GM stuck with a real transmission lever on these vehicles. That way you can manually shift it. This is our standard shift plate, and we've used this for the 6 and the 8 speeds. It's pretty versatile. It's slotted here so you can move it back and forth for the shift cable. This L bracket is slotted here so that you can move this back and forth for your transfer case cable. And in addition, we've got multiple holes here for different transfer case offsets. So between the slot and the holes, you can pretty much support almost any transfer case you put in there. This particular Jeep here has a 241C in it, not a J, so it's set up a little bit differently. When we do a conversion, we put new filters in and we use AC Delco. Don't try to save a couple of bucks and get a cheap filter. These engines are very precise. The tolerances are tighter than they've been ever, and you don't want to fool around with low quality parts. So I'm really excited about this LD3 because I think that this is going to make the best standard engine in a JK. The LD3 is going to do what 80% of you want to do. Is it going to go to the drag track and outrun the 6.2s? No, it's not. But what it's going to do is it's going to run on regular gas, and it's going to give you torque like you haven't had before in the V6s. It has excellent drivability. So unlike a turbocharged or a supercharged 3.6, which may put out more horsepower, this engine is actually going to run the way you want it to run. You can see right here that it's indicating that this is an L83 engine. There is the new L84 engine, which pretty much looks identical, but it's got dynamic fuel management instead of active fuel management and electronic stop-start. So here's a quick look at an L83. We're going to have it in a vehicle soon, and we'll come back and test drive it with the 8-speed transmission and give you our impressions. Thanks.